We'll get started in just a second, but this is the final software engineering info session of 2021. I don't know how. The year just flew by. I've done every single one of these, or actually every other one of these, but it feels crazy to be closing out the year today. So welcome to the final one. And I'm going to get started. This whole thing is going to be recorded. So if you come in late or if you need to jump, you will get the recording in an email tomorrow along with the slide deck. So you'll have all of the information that you need to look at. So yeah, again, welcome everybody to today's software engineering info session. My name is Ray, that's me. I'm the discipline lead on admissions for our software engineering program here at Flatiron School, and I will be your host today. That's my face. I've been at Flatiron School for over 2.5 years at this point. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. And if you wanted to know about me, I'm definitely an avid foodie, road tripper, and also a furniture collector. I'm going to make myself smaller so that you can see the rest of the slides. Before we get started, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to pop them into the chat box during the webinar. It can be questions about anything that you hear in the presentation today, or just like Flatiron School in general, or our software engineering program in general. This will definitely not take the full hour. I'm thinking this slide deck is going to take maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm happy to spend as much or as little time as we need answering specific questions. So pop them in the chat box. Here's our agenda. We're in the welcome. Then we're going to touch on sort of like COVID and our campus structure currently, our live and flex programs, which are our two PACE options, give a thorough overview of our software engineering program, admissions process, career services, open Q&A, and then we'll wrap up with some next steps. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So we'll start with the Flatiron School's mission statement, which is to enable the pursuit of a better life through education. Our goal is to set you up for a successful future in your new career path. We consider this to be a career-changing course, and we want to make your transition into the tech industry a smooth one. So we will jump into like what that looks like in the next couple of slides. This is a brief history of Flatiron School. We were founded in 2012 in New York City by Adam and Avi. They combined Adam's passion for education with Avi's experience in code to create and deliver the Flatiron School curriculum. Currently, we have 8 campus locations in Austin, Chicago, Denver, Houston, Manhattan, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. And our sister school, SecureSet Academy, operates in Colorado Springs and also in Denver. And then lastly, our graduates are able to make a full career transition, oftentimes in less than a year, with impressive starting salaries. Let's talk about sort of like what our campus experience looks like right now. We have, our campuses have been closed and operating virtually since March of 2020. I'm sure we all know that. But very, very excited to announce that we've started to reopen select campuses. Currently, there's a couple of things that are happening. Number one, we've started opening select campuses to use as sort of like a community space to connect with students, study at, and attend in-person events. The campuses that are open at that capacity are our New York City campus, also Denver, Chicago, and Austin and Colorado Springs. There's also a couple of campuses that are offering in-person cohorts again, which is super, super exciting. The campuses that have in-person cohorts are New York City and also Denver. There's a January 31st start date for our New York City campus, and then a February 21st start date for our New York City campus and also our Denver campus. That's for software engineering specifically, and those are full-time cohorts, 15 weeks, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. respectively. So very, very exciting. The other campuses are, like I said, like community spaces only. If you live in one of those cities where the campus is open, but it's not New York or Denver, your instruction will be virtual, but you're welcome to come to campus as much or as little as you'd like. If you have specific questions, feel free to, of course, pop them in the chat box. And then there's a ton of more information on our website. If you go to flatironschool.com/campus experience, that is where like the latest and greatest of our campus reopening plan will live. Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about software engineering specifically today, but I wanted to start by explaining our two learning paces, which are live and flex. Basically, everyone's schedule is so different. Some students choose to quit their jobs and take a fully immersive program, while others are like working full-time or part-time, or they have a family, other life commitments, and they want to still take a program, but have a little bit more flexibility in their schedule. And so we offer the exact same curriculum at a variety of different paces so that students can choose the best fit for them. So our live program is the quickest and most intense pace option. It is 15 weeks, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time and Mountain time, and then 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. if you're in Central time or Pacific time. The live program is like a 60-hour-a-week commitment. You are working 9 hours a day at minimum, attending live lectures, working on group activities, building out portfolio projects all throughout the day with some self-study in the evenings and on the weekends as well. Very, very important to note that it is impossible to work a job and take a live program. There's just simply not enough hours in the day. I heard actually on a meeting today, taking the live program is like you're married to Flatiron School, and it couldn't be more true. So just note that if you want to take a full-time program, the live course is a great option. It's quick, it's immersive, it's hands-on, but it is a huge, huge time commitment, and you want to be ready for that so that you can finish the program and not like freak out on week one. If that feels like a lot for you, the 60-week time, the 60-hour-a-week time commitment, that is okay, because our flex program is awesome. It is the exact same curriculum and the same career services as the live program, but you can set your own schedule. Basically, you choose your pace to start of 20, 40, or 60 weeks, 20 weeks being a pretty full-time program, 40 weeks being like a part-time program, and then 60 weeks being like a super part-time program. The pace that you set dictates your weekly time commitment to the program. But it doesn't really matter when you get the work done. It matters that you get the work done week over week. And it's sort of like a choose your own adventure. If you want to be, if you're really busy and you're going to be doing this program like in the middle of the night and on the weekends and early mornings or whatever, you can be pretty autonomous. All of the lectures that you must watch are recorded, so you can watch them whenever you want. There are people that you can reach out to if you have questions. You have, it's not like you're alone, but you can be pretty autonomous. On the flip side, if you need the flexibility in your schedule, but you like the community aspect, you want to be able to do things live and ask questions, Flex students have a ton of live stuff that happens throughout the week as well. You can attend any lecture that the full-time students are attending. There's also a ton of live study sessions, open office hours, community events. And if you live near a campus and you're a Flex student or a live student, you have campus access. So if you want to go and be part of the community, you definitely should. So the Flex program is a great, great option for students who maybe you even have full-time availability, but you aren't ready to commit to that rigorous 9 to 6 schedule. Makes perfect sense. Again, if you have specific questions about the Flex course, pop them in the chat box. One important note is like, you don't have to have a final decision before applying to the program. So submit an application, schedule your admissions interview, and come ready to have a conversation about what your week looks like, what your commitments outside of school are going to look like, and listen to your admissions rep, because we have your best interest at heart and we will guide you to pick the program that's going to be the best fit for you. That was a lot of information, but Again, just to reiterate, career services for both live and flex is the exact same. And also the start dates for live and flex are the same as well. So if you're looking on the website and you see all of those start dates, likely there will be a live and a flex cohort starting on that exact date. Okay. Here's a breakdown of the average day in the live program. So you might log in at 9 a.m., debrief on what you learned the day before, and then come together for a live lecture where you're learning something new. You'll break for lunch, you'll come back, and you'll implement what you've learned with paired programming, with a code challenge, a personal project, just depending on the day. The program for both live and flex is all about hands-on skill building. There's no theory, there's no fluff, there's no prerequisites. It is all about giving you the skills that you need to do the actual job that you're trying to get post-graduation. Very vocational, I would say, almost like if you were going to a trade school to become an electrician, like you're learning everything you need to know, nothing that you're not, essentially. And here's a little bit more about the software engineering program specifically. It's definitely like our bread and butter. We've been running this discipline since 2012 when we launched. We've had so many graduates come out of this program and get placed in the industry. And it's a really, really solid program. So software engineering, in summary, is the design, development, maintenance, testing, and evaluation of websites and computer software. Our software engineering program is designed to give you the necessary expertise in both back-end and front-end programming so that you will become a fully hireable full-stack web developer post-graduation. And some typical job titles we see our students land are software engineers and software developers. This is a quick rundown of our software engineering curriculum. You'll all get the full syllabus after our call today, but the primary technical languages we teach are Ruby and JavaScript. And you can also expect to learn some front-end frameworks like React and Redux, and then back-end frameworks like Sinatra and Rails. There's also some data structures and algorithms work built into the program, and also some work post-graduation to help you prep for technical interviews during your job search. And so the curriculum, whether you take the live program or the flex program, is built in phases. So you're learning in sections that build upon each other as you go through the curriculum. And actually, you start with phase 0 once you're admitted into the program, even before day 1 of class. Phase 0 is pre-work. It is about 60 hours of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, setting up your computer, getting set up with your text editor, all of these fun things. It is mandatory for both live and flex and in-person students to complete before day 1 of class. So even if you are sort of like a relative beginner now, by day 1 of class, you'll have at least 60 hours of self-teaching under your belt, which is awesome. But for this reason, because the pre-work is mandatory and it's lengthy, we recommend you submit an application at least 6 weeks before your start date. We are currently enrolling all the way up to like May, June. So if you know that you want to start a program in the next couple of months, submit your application and let's get the ball rolling. And then once you start the program, you'll start with phase 1, which is JavaScript, followed by React for the front end. And then phases 3 and 4 are Ruby and Rails for the back end. And your final phase is your capstone phase, where you put it all together and you finalize your full stack portfolio. So on graduation day, you will have everything that you need to immediately start applying for jobs, which is great. This is an example of a portfolio project completed by 2 Flatiron School students called Words with Nerds. It's a fully responsive gaming app and word puzzle built as a paired project during phase 3 of our 5-phase course. Just to give you an idea of like what you can expect to learn and create halfway through the program. If you're interested in looking at more portfolio projects for the software engineering course specifically, check out YouTube. and just search like Flatiron School Mod 5 project or Flatiron School capstone project, whatever. There's a ton of really, really, really cool projects, like recent projects that our grads have completed and published like full walkthroughs on YouTube. We also have some examples on the admissions team. So if you're in the process and you just like want to see what some of our students have been working on, let us know and we're happy to send some over. But there's some really, really cool stuff. I think the best thing about this program is that your projects are not cookie cutter. We do not limit what you can build. So students are learning like additional languages and frameworks for their projects, or like, starting their company that they've always dreamed of starting in the program. And you'll see that there's such a range of projects, which I think is really nice. Okay, and I see some questions popping into the chat. Thank you. I'll get to all of them in just a few minutes. But this is a breakdown of our admissions process. So the first step that you'll see is to submit a written application. And then from there, myself or one of my colleagues will reach out and get you scheduled for an admissions interview, which is generally like a 20-minute conversation over Zoom video chat, sometimes a phone call. And it's non-technical. We're just like getting to know you. Come prepared to like talk about your background, why you're ready to make this career change, how you got introduced to software engineering. Those are the type of questions that we'll be asking. So, and also come with questions. Like the conversation is more about like getting to know you and answering any questions that you have about the program so that we can make sure mutually it's going to be a good fit. After the admissions interview, you will complete something called the admissions assessment, which is a critical thinking quiz that's a requirement for admission. And then from there, you'll receive an admissions decision. Once admitted, you will get access to pre-work. You will choose your financing method. You'll sign your enrollment paperwork, and then you will start class successfully on day one. So this is probably like the most asked question from prospective students is like, how do I know if I'm ready to apply? When should I apply, et cetera? You do not need to know how to code. Like you don't have to be a professional software engineer before applying to the program. But you should definitely know that you're ready for a career change. And you should also know approximately how much time you have each week to dedicate to a program. Now, some self-teaching is always going to be best case scenario, especially because this program is designed for career changers. You want to make sure that it's something that you actually enjoy doing, and you can only figure that out by doing a little bit of self-teaching on your own before committing to a paid structured program. Otherwise, like why jump into something and then find out that you hate it and then be in the same position that you are in now? So there's so many cool self-teaching resources for free on the internet. We have a couple of cool like try experiences on our website if you're looking for somewhere to start. The HTML, CSS course is cool. We have one on JavaScript. Codecademy is really cool. Like there's so many resources. So if you are brand new and you've never coded before, I would highly, highly recommend, again, you don't have to be an expert, but like dive into something and just get a feel for what learning the skill set, actually looks like in reality. Do some research on what software engineering actually is, what the profession looks like, et cetera. And then from there, we'll teach you everything else that you need to know. This is where to find the free courses on our website, the like little intro courses. If you just go to the left-hand side under courses, there's a whole tab of free lessons. Intro to coding is cool. There's also a Python course in the intro to data science section. So if you're interested in Python, check that out as well. Okay, let's do a quick rundown of our financing options. So tuition for the program, regardless of your pace, regardless of your discipline, is the same. It is $16,900 in total. Basically how it works is once you're admitted, you pay a deposit of $500 upfront. You can pay it with a credit card, you can pay it with a bank account, whatever you want to do. That deposit is what secures a seat in class for you. And it's also what unlocks pre-work, which is mandatory to complete before day one of class. And then for the balance, there's a couple of different ways that you can finance it. You can pay in installments if you'd like to. We work with a company called EdAid. You apply for the installments, and then if approved, it's 12 equal interest-free installments, and you're paying monthly throughout the course of a year. We also work with two different lenders, a company called Ascent and then a company called Climb. It's a loan. You can take out the full balance of tuition and pay it back monthly after you graduate. For the live program and any of our like full-time, the in-person and the live, our lenders also offer cost of living stipends up to $7,500 paid to you. It's a loan again, but just to help like pay your bills while you're in the program, since the assumption is you wouldn't be working. So that's optional, but just wanted to throw that out there. And then we also have some scholarship opportunities posted on our website under diversity initiatives. Currently, we have something called the Access Scholarship, aimed to help those in underrepresented communities in tech. There's a really cool Women Take Tech initiative, an essential worker scholarship, all kinds of cool stuff on our website. If you're interested in scholarships, just so you know, the application is internal. So what you're going to want to do is apply to the program first, schedule your admissions interview, and then in that interview, let your admissions rep know that you're interested in applying for a scholarship. At that point, we can send you the link and make sure that, you know, we walk you through the process and it gets reviewed and all that good stuff. Okay, I think this is the last slide. So we've talked a lot about like what happens before the program, what happens during the program. And now I just want to touch on arguably the most important part, and that is what comes afterwards. And that is, of course, your job search. So I think this is probably the biggest selling point of the program. Basically, how career coaching and your job search works is when you're about 80% of the way through the program, you've sort of learned the majority of what you're going to learn, and you're finalizing your portfolio project, making it perfect, getting feedback from your instructor, and just getting that piece set. At that point, the 80% mark, each of you get paired with a career coach, who's someone that meets with you one-on-one from that 80% mark until your first day at your first job. Our career coaches are like professional career coaches. They like own their own practices, and they contract with Flatiron School to take on a handful of grads at a time. And it's just such a cool approach, because it is one thing to learn full stack web development in 15 weeks or 10 months or whatever. And it's quite another to like sit in front of, you know, employers and sell that skill set and just feel confident in the skill set that you learned in 15 weeks or 10 months or whatever. And so with your career coach, it's all about like giving you that confidence and helping you throughout your job search. You get prepped on interview prep. They'll help you with your LinkedIn, your resume, your GitHub, networking. You go through a series of mock technical interviews. They help you negotiate salary. After every interview, you're like, you know, meeting with your career coach. How did it go? What could I do better, etc. It's really such an awesome service, I guess, that we offer our students. And then the other thing is we have employer partners, which are basically companies big and small that recurringly hire our graduates. Maybe they hired a Flatiron grad on a whim 5 years ago. They had a good experience, and now they're looking to grow their team, and they reach out to us directly. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We pitch our grads for open roles. We do hiring events. We do happy hours. We do group interviews, like everything under the sun. The job search is a job search. Like, don't want to sugarcoat it for anybody, but it's just like the career coaching team and the employer partnerships team, they're really in it with you every step of the way. And I think that's such a cool part of the program. So I think that is it. Oh, well, here's, I guess, one more slide. Speaking of hiring our graduates, these are some of the employers that have hired our students. This is like a bragging slide. Like, these are a lot of very cool established tech companies, and we certainly have placements there. But there's so many like even cool startups and like mid-sized companies that are hiring our students as well. So if you are interested in learning more about like our grad placements, we have a full jobs report on our website. I think it's literally like a whole jobs report tab. It's like an 80-page PDF of like every student that's ever graduated Flatiron School, where they landed, the company size, the starting salary, et cetera. Tons of cool data on that jobs report. And I believe you'll get it emailed to you after this call. All right. And without further ado, let's jump into some questions. Yes, someone asked, is the campus only open for vaccinated individuals? I should probably put a slide on this, but yes. So if you want to take the in-person program, or if you're a flex or a live student who just wants to come on campus, all of our campuses are requiring full vaccination and proof. And also, especially for the in-person program where there's like a group gathering, masks are required for the time being as well. There's a whole like COVID sort of like policy situation on our website. If you go to the flatironschool.com/campus experience, you can read all about it. Okay. Here's a question. Are the videos we watch for the Flex program recorded videos from the live lectures? Yes and no. So Flex students, you will have access to a lecture bank where as you progress through the program, there's lectures that are like embedded in the content that you have to work through. Those lectures are recorded specifically for your program. They're pre-recorded, but they're like it's pretty recently recorded. And those are the lectures that you must watch. Now, the live lectures happen daily, Monday through Friday, for our live students. The live students have to attend those lectures. Like it's very much part of your time expectation. Flex students can optionally crash that lecture if they want to attend the live lecture. They're welcome to. And then those lectures that are happening live are also recorded, uploaded to the lecture bank so that Flex students can reference them. And then also, if you're a live student and you want to go back, you're doing some self-studying, you missed what they said, whatever, you will also have access to all of the lectures that you have watched. But attendance for live students is very, very mandatory, whereas Flex students, it's totally optional. With the Flex schedule, are there opportunities for paired programming and teamwork on projects? That is a great question. So given like the nature of the Flex program and like everybody's schedule being so different, there are no mandatory group projects in the Flex course. All of your portfolio projects that you're working on will be individual. That said, everybody who's taking the Flex program, like, yes, you're busy, you have other life commitments going on, but like every single one of those students wants the community aspect. They want the paired programming. And so it's not uncommon at all to get paired up with someone in your cohort and work on paired projects, sort of like above and beyond what you're doing in the program. It's something that you can easily set up. Even though you're in the Flex program, you might not be exactly at the same spot as your classmates. You are in a structured cohort. So you will have classmates, sort of like your immediate community that you're interacting with. You'll be in conversations. You have a Slack channel where you can like chit chat all the time. You can set up your own study groups, et cetera. And you also have a lead instructor that's assigned to your structured cohort from start to finish as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for building out paired projects and stuff. It's just sort of like the initiative is on you to make that happen. It's not a mandatory situation, but I've had many students pair program in the Flex program, so it's pretty normal. Alex asks, what's the rate of acceptance for admissions? So I heard somewhere that it was sitting at like 6%, which is like terrifying to some people and like exhilarating to other people. And honestly, I wouldn't worry about it too much. The programs are hard, right? Like ultimately you have to learn the skill, which is just not an easy feat. It's literally learning a new language. And so the program is intense and we want to prep our students thoroughly for that. That said, like if you're willing to work hard and jump through the steps. Like, we want all of our students to succeed. You can easily get admitted into the program, work super, super hard on pre-work and crush the program, having never coded before in your life. It's just going to take a lot of like hard work and determination. So I heard 6%. I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you can jump through the hoops, I don't anticipate any issues. Is there a fee to apply for the program? No. To submit an application to the program is completely free. Literally just go to flatironschool.com/start. The application, I think, is 2 questions. It's like, tell us about your professional background, tell us about your technical background. That's it. I would like, my biggest piece of advice is like, apply. Honestly, the sooner, like, I know there's so many programs like that people are looking at. There's so much content, like everybody, there's so many opinions around like this career transition, but the sooner you get connected to an admissions rep, like at Flatiron School or wherever you're applying, the better you're going to feel, just in like, we have all of the information that you need to make a good decision for yourself. So submit the application, even if you're not quite sure what you want to do, even if you're not quite sure when or if or how or whatever, apply to the program, get connected with someone, and we're more than happy to like talk you through it. How many hours per week should we be dedicating to the program in Flex for the 40-week pace? So I'm going to give you all 3, like the sort of rundown for all 3 programs. The 20-week Flex pace is a full-time program. You're looking at like 40 hours a week. The 40-week Flex program is a part-time program. You're looking at about 25 hours per week. And then the 60-week Flex program is a super part-time course, and you're looking at like 15 hours a week. Basically, nobody asked, but basically how the Flex program works in terms of pacing is like, just imagine every week you're getting this to-do list that says, if you want to graduate in 40 weeks, these are the things that you need to do this week to stay on pace, right? You need to work through this module, watch these lectures, meet with this person, submit this code challenge, whatever. This is what you have to do this week to stay on pace. Completing your list week over week keeps you on pace. If you don't quite finish your list, like something happens, work is crazy, whatever, you're slightly behind, but that's okay. It just means you're going to need to take on a little bit more in the weeks to come to even yourself out. And then if you finish your to-do list and you want to take on even more, you're now ahead. And I think that's the coolest thing about the Flex program, especially compared to live, that's like very rigid. You must finish in 15 weeks, like no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no like wiggle room. The Flex program is nice because you can change your pace if you need to as your life changes. So maybe you start with the 40-week Flex program because you're working full time, but halfway through you're like, you know what, I'm quitting my job and I'm dedicating myself full time to this. You can now work ahead and graduate sooner than 40 weeks. Or if you start with the 20-week Flex program and you're like, work is crazy, or somebody gets sick, or you take a vacation or whatever, you can, like, you have that wiggle room. You can bump back a little bit if you need to. So Flex is I'm a big fan of the Flex program. But I know it's a lot of information. So again, apply, get scheduled for an interview, and your admissions rep will be able to give you like all of the details. How early in advance would you recommend getting admitted to the program in order to have enough time to do pre-work? That really varies. It depends on you and your life and your schedule. Most of our full-time program, you need to be admitted and like have your deposit paid and be like basically enrolled about a month before the start date. So that's why I say apply to a program 6 weeks before. Let's say it takes you a week or 2 to get admitted into the program. You make it in time for that month, and then you have a month to do 60 hours of work, which is feasible if you work a little bit every day. But if your job is super demanding or you have a vacation or whatever, give yourself a little bit more time. Like I said, we're enrolling like 6 months out. So you can, like, I have students who are like admitted, committed, and working on pre-work, and they're not starting until May. So you can apply now, even if your start date is a couple of months in advance. That's the other thing too. If you look on our website, our start dates, I think the latest one that we have currently is February 21st. We have other start dates set in our system, like nearly for the rest of the year. So if you're curious about upcoming start dates, just shoot an email to admissions@flatironschool.com and we can get that information to you. Lots of good questions. In terms of employment, how competitive are Flatiron School grads compared to competitors, compared to like the competition who might have a bachelor's degree in computer science or computer engineering. So funny enough, obviously I interview and talk to software engineering students all day, every single day. And there is a huge portion of our student body who has a 4-year computer science degree. And that always surprised me because you would think that you would be fully hireable after completing a 4-year computer science degree. But literally every single student tells me the exact same thing. In those 4 years, you learn a lot of theory, which is great and important, but you never really learn like the technical skills that you need to be hireable. And so many of those students, if they actually want to get a job in the industry, end up taking a boot camp anyways, because they never built out a portfolio, which is like the number one thing that you need to be hireable in this industry. I don't say that, like, I think computer science degrees have their merits, but I guess I just say that to say in this industry, honestly, there's always going to be some companies that are old school and will require a bachelor's degree in something, and that's fine. But for the vast majority of job openings, you stand out from the rest by your portfolio and your ability to pass a technical interview. And that's what's so cool about the software, like this industry as a whole, is like, it doesn't really matter what you did before. It doesn't really matter your age or your background, like, or who you know. It matters, like, can you actually do the skill set? If you can, you're going to have a successful career. If you can't, you're not going to get through the door. So Flatiron School grads are quite hireable, yeah, I would say. Someone said, after the deposit's made, when do you get access to the pre-work? So you pay your deposit, it's $500. As soon as you pay your deposit, it unlocks pre-work. So like the second you submit your deposit invoice, you get an email with pre-work login credentials. The deposit is fully refundable if you end up not starting the program on day one. So just know that, but yeah, the deposit will unlock your pre-work. Are there time-sensitive homework and assignments that will be consistently evaluated by the instructor in the Flex program so that I can track my progress? Yes. So your lead instructor, you have one-on-ones with your lead instructor on a semi-regular cadence, depending on your pace. And basically your instructor, they're not giving live lectures that are mandatory, but they're there to like give you feedback on your projects, answer your questions, of course, as they come up. And also, probably most importantly, hold you accountable to the pace that you've set for yourself. And so there are all of these benchmarks that week over week, are you making progress? Are you on pace or are you falling behind? Like, are you falling behind because like you need a pep talk and you need someone to tell you to like get your life together? Or are you falling behind because you're in the wrong pace and maybe you should bump back to 60 weeks or to 40 weeks or whatever? So there are benchmarks and they readjust as you make progress. I love the Flex program. I think a lot of boot camps, and this was us like in the past as well, is like you have this fully self-paced program and humans just don't learn like that. Like you need to feel like you're, small wins, like you're making progress. And so I love that Flex like gives you the flexibility where you need it, but also those benchmarks where you feel like you're accomplishing something and you're on the path to actually graduating on time. Is the tuition a fixed amount regardless of how long you take to complete the Flex program? Yes. Tuition is $16,900. You can change your pace a million times in the Flex course. It's not going to matter. The only stipulation with Flex is that you must finish in 60 weeks. You cannot go past that. There's no extensions, but you can finish in 12 weeks if you wanted to, 36 weeks if you wanted to, whatever. You just have to finish in 60. And then your second part of your question is, can you switch to a different course? Like, can you switch from software engineering to cybersecurity? Not easily. Our disciplines are very different. So it's something that, I mean, it's definitely been done before, but it's more of like a withdrawal from one program, reapply to a new program, re-enroll. It's a lot of paperwork. You might lose some money. Like, I wouldn't recommend it. That is something that I would do, like do that soul searching before committing to a program. However, if you apply to the software engineering program and then throughout the admissions process, decide cybersecurity is going to be a better fit, that is a much easier switch. But once you actually start the program and you're like applied for the loan and all of that, you want to be pretty confident that you're going to see that course through. I researched all the top bootcamp curriculums, and most of them have JavaScript instead of Ruby. What are your thoughts on this, since most of the tech industry is moving to Node JavaScript, is my understanding? Yeah, so Ruby is sort of, I guess, kind of controversial depending on who you ask. We teach JavaScript and React and Redux for the front end. But we teach Ruby and Rails for the back end. And we do that for a couple of different reasons. I guess most importantly is like Ruby is an object-oriented programming language that's really easy, or not really easy, but like it's easier for beginners to understand the syntax. And once you understand Ruby, like more importantly than like knowing Ruby, it's like you understand fundamentally how to learn new languages in the future, which is in 15 weeks, like that's the most important thing that you're going to learn, because you're never, ever going to know enough in 15 weeks or 10 months or whatever to be able to be like, okay, I'm done. You know, I don't have to learn anything else. So we teach Ruby because it just applies so nicely to other languages, like Python or C# or Java or whatever. The other thing too is it is kind of nice for students to have experience working in two languages. Like if you learn JavaScript for the front and back end, it's harder to learn a second language. Whereas in our program, you're learning JavaScript and Ruby. After you learn two languages, the third comes much easier. That sounds crazy, but trust me. And then the other thing is Ruby is actually still like very much used in the industry, especially with like in the startup world. So it's not a wasted skill set by any means. But yeah, I understand the question. It's something that I get from time to time, a little controversial. But I will say, and then I'll get off my Ruby soapbox. Students, like I've personally had students have no experience, take our program, and then get a job interview where they're expected to learn C#, having never touched C# before, learned it or enough to pass a technical interview and get the job in like 2 weeks. So that's what you're learning in this program, more so than any one language or framework. You're learning just like fundamentally how to understand programming languages and teach yourself new ones, which is literally going to be your job forevermore if you take this program. Do you need a specific computer for the course? Yes. All of our education team works on Mac operating system. So the biggest, baddest MacBook Pro that your money can buy is always the best case scenario. However, we have some students who love PC. That's totally fine. You'll probably end up running Linux. We have a whole computer requirements like spec sheet. Please do not feel like you have to go out and buy a brand new one. But if you're interested in upgrading your computer, you'll get the full like computer requirements PDF before being admitted into the course. Lonnie asks, how much are the scholarships for? So our scholarships are partial, anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 typically. If you go on our website under diversity initiatives, there's a list of the scholarships that are active and a list of sort of like qualifiers. Typically, they're based on income level, like there's different income thresholds that you must meet to qualify for the scholarship. What's nice about the scholarships is they can be applied to your deposit. So you can potentially not have to pay anything up front, and then the rest of that scholarship would just be applied to your tuition balance. It's encouraging to see that a lot of your alumni are working at IBM and Infosys. Yeah, do you have tie-ups with them? Yeah, actually, we do. Infosys is a huge employer partner. We have internally, we have a jobs board on Slack that basically is like every single time a student gets a job, they post it like daily. It updates like big lists of like, you know, I can search my students and see where they landed, see where like what program they took and where they're getting a job. Infosys and also IBM is sort of like a constant on that jobs report. And they're both such great companies. So yeah, it's cool to have connects there. And we have like working for Flatiron School, it's always like so promising to see like how it operates. I just think it's so cool that like I'm in Denver and we have an employer partnerships team. Like we have an account executive here on the ground in Denver whose job all day long is to network with companies locally in Denver so that our students can build those connections. And so she's like introducing grads to Infosys reps or like whatever. Like there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, you're all ultimately responsible for your own success. Like no one's going to do everything for you, but if you work hard at the program and you work hard at your job search, like you'll definitely find success in the course. All right, that's all that's in the chat. Let's see. I think that is everything. So I don't even know what time it is. Wow, we've gone 45 minutes in. Let's wrap it up. If I have thoroughly convinced you to apply to our program, you can do so online, flatironschool.com/start. Or if you just have some questions, you want to chat with someone on the admissions team casually, you can definitely do so. go.oneshub.com/flatironadmissions. You will get the slide deck, so you can just click the link and schedule a call, 10 minutes with some like myself or someone on my team, super casual, non-salesy. If you have questions about financing or scholarships or competitors, whatever, definitely schedule a call and we're happy to chat with you. And then we also have a ton of really cool virtual and also some in-person events happening. I think everything's sort of slowing down around the holidays, but come January, we are super excited to be doing like open houses in our campuses. We have virtual workshops that are instructor-led and totally free and a huge hit. There's always like 200 people at these workshops. So keep an eye out on our website, flatironschool.com/events. And I think that is everything. So thank you all so much for spending your evening with me. Like I said, you'll get the copy of this presentation and the slide deck. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. You'll get the copy of all of this in your email probably tomorrow. And then I will follow up personally myself just to check in. So if you have any questions, more than happy to connect with you all. Thank you so much and have fabulous evenings. Bye.